Next is your food. You're going to want to pack some food with you so that you can use it immediately, but try and use that last. Like, you really want to, it's almost like, it's funny because you got this bag that's going to keep you alive. That's like your emergency plan, but you also don't want to use the most accessible emergency supplies.
Yeah.
Like when you get out there, if you can, go to a place where you can start fishing and use that food and not use up your MREs that you have in your bag. So that comes down to ways of like continuing to obtain food, like small game, snakes, squirrels, rabbits, raccoons, and things like that. You've got to consider that in fishing. Mm-hmm. You can't carry a big fishing pole, so you can.
I mean, you can. It depends on what your plan is.
It's just trickier. Yeah, maybe you're in an area with great fishing. Maybe you do want to but they have those. If you're a good fly fisherman, they have those container ones that are just in a tube, and then you could throw that in your pack.
I think we got one.
K-Bar has one.
Yeah, I think I have the K-Bar one.
I do too.
It's just
It
tiny.
looks like a handle.
Yeah, it's cool.
And then it extends into.
I think that's great for an inch bag.
I do too.
That's great.
Because that's less likely to come into play with a bug out bag.
Yeah.
I've thrown it in my bug out bag because I think it's cool. Mm-hmm. But anyways, so ways to continue to obtain food. Mm-hmm. Compact fishing pole, fishing line, tackle, all that.
Yeah.
And you can kind of make a small pack with a lot of that stuff that you can continue to use, and then you dig up worms and bugs and things like that. So fishing's great. If you're not able to continue watching, your fishing pole and things like that, those yo-yo reels or those automatic reels, those are awesome.
They are awesome, man.
Just pull them out, throw them in, and as soon as it gets, a tug on it, it'll just reel it in itself, which is pretty crazy. And so those are tiny too. I mean, they're just the size of a regular spool of, and you got your fishing line on there if you need to use it for
Having a couple of those, I think, is good. Yeah. You can set them up in a couple of places near camp.
Catch each other.
Yep. Exactly.
Pull your reels in.
But then that way you can just you get to camp, you're doing whatever. Oh, I'm just going to throw those out right now.
Yeah.
And come back later in the day, see what you got,
Yeah. One of our bug out bags had a collapsible fish trap. Remember the mesh one?
That's right, yeah.
And so you could just tuck that in there. And there's multiple uses for the material if you had to.
Yeah, sure.
But then it pops out and you stuff food in it and you got a fish trap. Mm-hmm. So different ways that you don't have to always be spending the time, obtaining that food. Snares and traps. There's a lot of different ones. There are definitely ones you want to practice using.
Yeah.
They're a bit confusing, but it's something that you can leave and then come back to and hopefully have a fat little squirrel in there to eat.
Yeah, those snares, you can get like a pack of 3 and they're really cheap and they're light. And they take up no space.
That's true.
A pack of 3 of those is nothing. I think for sure get those. And then we've had a couple of different types that we need to kind of go try and use, like the deadfall trap.
We had that deadfall. We set it up once, but
it's hard. It's not easy. Yeah. But there's a lot of different
one
things.
to cat. Yeah. We've had a couple of them. So
and like a couple of just like regular. The catch traps for the legs.
That's what it was.
What the hell are those called?
Catch trap.
Leg catch traps. Something like that.
Yeah. But yeah, so you can see how this is different from your bug out bag because you don't need to consider all this stuff. You don't need to be packing all this in your bug out bag. Mm-hmm. But in this scenario where you're living out of this and surviving with this pack, you've got to add all this stuff in there. Mm-hmm. Other ways to kill animals, a slingshot, that's a great thing to pack. If you can kill something with the slingshot, you are the man.
Yeah, I've got that later on the list.
So freaking
too,
hard.
But
bows.
Do you remember that little weird slingshot thing that we got? That's like a rubber thing.
Yeah, it looks like a condom.
It looks like a condom with a thing on the end of it.
Yeah, it's got like little steel marble, steel BBs in it.
Like that wouldn't be that bad because it's weighs
probably
like
get
nothing.
A bird.
Yeah, for sure.
Or
a squirrel.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah,
or
small
even a rabbit.
Children.
Yeah,
Small
little
children.
like under 1 or 2.
Yeah.
You could get them.
Yeah. But yeah, no, they have all kinds of little fancy things like that.
Yeah.
You don't even have to have the traditional slingshot.
Yeah.
Bows and a compound bow would be super nice. I would, honestly, I've considered with an inch bag that I'd probably pack my compound bow.
Yeah.
So it's a heavy beast.
It is. But there's other options. We got that breakdown bow. Do you remember?
Yep. It's tricky to shoot. I tried.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy.
But you'd have to practice with just a regular bow.
But that bow is going to be a biznitch to carry everywhere.
Yeah, a compound bow would be.
Yeah.
Crossbow the same way.
Same thing, yeah.
Quite heavy, but
way heavy.
The real nice thing about those is potentially, you don't expend your ammo.
Yes.
Like You can go and recover your bow or your bolt. And so those are just things to consider hunting with. And you're not going to attract attention firing your, 30-30 out in the middle of nowhere. And then obviously a knife. Other uses, not just for hunting, but for preparing things and finishing off an animal.
Yep.
To pack some direct food, some things to consider, like high protein energy bars.
Yeah.
You can throw those in there. Dried fruits and nuts, a pack of like the trail mix. Those are great. Oatmeal, seeds. So just those things that can last a little longer in your bag that you don't have to constantly be cycling out. And then little packets of tea and coffee, sugar like that.
Yeah.
You're going to be adding to the water because just drinking stream water the whole time is a bit depressing.
Oh, for sure.
So even if it's like a Gatorade pack or something, like they don't weigh anything.
No.
So you throw a bunch of those in there. You want something for morale, like chocolate or candy and an immediate carbohydrate, dose. Stock cubes like bouillon, all that. You can add it to anything. Cooking up some oatmeal, throw a bouillon cube
Even
in there.
if you just put it in some hot water.
Yeah.
It's like drinking
Soothing.
broth.
I know.
You know
it's
what
like,
I mean?
I'm sick today.
Yeah.
Got a sore throat.
I'm just going to lay in bed.
But no, those
watch the birds.
They do go rancid, though. So you got to watch out for those.
Mm.
Because they got like animal fat in there.
Oh.
Human fat. They're gross.
Yeah.
But dried soup mixes are great.
Oh, yeah.
Another thing is Jell-O packets. Because you can just like get a hot cup of Jell-O. I do it all the time. But something, if you're traveling and moving through like the winter, it's just something that you could give
for sure
your kids or something like that.
Or hot chocolate.
Mineral salts or salt and pepper are crucial. You're going to want your spices. You're going to want your salt and pepper. You don't know what you're going to be eating.
No.
Maybe you're going to be eating a mushroom that you found, or
I wouldn't suggest
a truffle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those scare me.
Yeah, I know. But I that was one thing I threw in here is you probably should look into, unless you're already ahead of the game and you're a botanist, like a book that shows like what edible plants. Did you? Okay.
Yeah.
And then you got to have a way to prepare the food and continue, cooking.
This
and
is
making
the part that like takes up a lot of space.
It does.
It's the hard part.
Because yeah, it is. Even in my bug out bag, I have some cookware in there. I'm like, it takes up so much freaking space.
It does, man.
But you can't have like a collapsible thing that works very well that's going to withhold heating over and over and over.
Yep.
Like the barrel cook is a great way to heat, but it's bulky. That's the only downside.
And you have to have all those packs.
Yeah. And once you're out of those, you can cook with that thing still, but it's too big. But it is an option.
Yeah, for sure.
But you want to have good cookware, and this is part that I've tried several different little aluminum ones. I had like one Coleman set that was like complete trash.
Yeah,
like the aluminum warped, and so you want to get good cookware, and there's a ton of different things. You just got to try it.
I just like the straight up little pot.
That's
like that to me. It feels like it lasts the longest. It does the job every time.
Yeah, it's usually like a coated aluminum,
and it's not going to warp like you're talking about.
But stainless steel's great. You just most of them are aluminum for weight, and there's a lot of cheap trash out there.
For sure. Yeah.
A canteen for water, we talked about that already. Something to carry water that can also be used to boil, to cook soup, to cook your delicious Jell-O hot water.
Jell-O soup.
Yeah. Or lettuce soup if you're Russian. And then there's your direct survival foods. Like I always throw in a couple packs of Mountain House stuff.
Yeah.
Just because it's easy to prepare, it tastes good, and it's not heavy. And then MREs, like don't pack your bag clear full of MREs because most of the time they're just disgusting and they weigh a lot and they take up space. But having one or two in there is not a bad idea because then if you cannot find anything, like if you were bugging out or living off the wilderness here in Vernal, you got to have a backup plan if you can't find food. And then, like I said, a plant or survival guide for eating wilderness foods and things like that.
Yeah.
And then the last thing is I would have some kind of survival vitamin.
Like a multivitamin.
Yeah. What's the survival?
Surviviguard?
Surviviguard, yeah. So they store for a long time. You can just throw a small bottle in. Even if you're taking that once or twice a week, you're getting essential vitamins and minerals that you're not going to always get from eating off from the land.
If you're just eating fish every day or
roots, dandelions.
Nummy.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, that's I mean, food and water. There's a lot of planning that goes into that.
Yeah.
And I would recommend trying out different like pots, pans, and things like that, so you're not carrying a ton of useless trash.
Absolutely.